night word of an untimely death. Kurt Cobain was the lead singer of the group Nirvana. Their albums were bestsellers, their songs filled with images of despair and violence. One lyric, "The sun is gone, but I have a light, the day is done, but I'm having fun." And then this morning, his body found at home, another casualty of success.
When you reach that kind of fame and you're still miserable, there's something wrong.
Yeah, you can't buy happiness. I mean, that made me happy for a little while. It's not a special.
It was obvious this man is dead from a shotgun wound to the head. There was a suicide note.
Hey, what's good everybody? It's your boy, See Through the Script here, back with another video. This time, I'm going to be exploring the life of a legendary rock star who left a profound impact on the music world. This particular artist hails from Seattle, which has been home to many influential musicians throughout history. Unfortunately, like so many others, this artist's life was cut tragically short at the young age of 27. So let's dive into their story and learn more about the remarkable legacy he left behind. Kurt Donald Cobain was born in Aberdeen, Washington on February 20th, 1967 to his parents Wendy and Donald Cobain. They provided him with a comfortable lower middle class lifestyle, and Kurt's childhood was mostly happy. As a bright and creative child, Kurt's hyper-creativity sometimes made it challenging for him to focus, leading his parents to seek medical help. Eventually, he was diagnosed with ADHD. Sadly, when Kurt was just 9 years old, his parents' marriage ended in 1976 after his mother Wendy told his father Donald that she wanted a divorce. The split deeply affected Kurt, and he later expressed in an interview with Spin magazine that he felt his childhood was great up until I was 9. The divorce left him feeling disconnected and alienated from his surroundings. In the years that followed, Kurt bounced between various family members and friends, struggling to find his place in the world. Despite these challenges, Kurt found solace in music, picking up the guitar at a young age and teaching himself to play. He was heavily influenced by bands like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, as well as punk rock acts like the Sex Pistols and the Clash. In his teenage years, Kurt became heavily involved in the underground punk rock scene, playing in various bands and immersing himself in the DIY culture. He formed Nirvana in 1987 with bassist Chris Novoselic and drummer Aaron Burkhardt, and the band quickly gained a following in the Seattle music scene. After Burkhardt left the band, Nirvana went through several drummers before settling on Dave Grohl in 1990. The band's early sounds was heavily influenced by punk and alternative rock, with Kurt's raw, emotional lyrics and distinctive voice setting them apart from their peers. Nirvana's early releases, including their debut album Bleach, received critical acclaim and helped to establish the band as a force to be reckoned with in the underground music scene. However, it wasn't until the release of their second album, Nevermind, in 1991 that Nirvana achieved mainstream success. The album featured the hit single Smells Like Teen Spirit and went on to sell over 30 million copies worldwide, catapulting Nirvana to the forefront of the music industry. Kurt Cobain's raw talent and unique voice quickly caught the attention of music industry executives, leading to a bidding war for Nirvana's talents. In 1989, the band signed with the independent label Sub Pop Records, which had already established itself as a major player in the underground music scene. Nirvana's debut album Bleach was released on Sub Pop in 1989 to critical acclaim, but it was their major label debut, Nevermind, that catapulted the band to superstardom. The album was released on September 24th, 1991 through Geffen Records' subsidiary label DGC Records, and its lead single, Smells Like Teen Spirit, became a worldwide hit. Kurt's image and persona played a major role in Nirvana's rise to fame. His grunge fashion sense, unkempt hair, and rebellious attitude resonated with fans who were tired of the polished and sanitized music of the time. Kurt's lyrics, which often dealt with themes of alienation, angst, and social commentary, also struck a chord with fans who felt marginalized by mainstream society. Despite their success, Kurt remained deeply conflicted about his fame and the commercialization of his music, and he struggled to come to terms with the demands of the music industry. Despite these challenges, Nirvana continued to produce critically acclaimed music and tour extensively throughout the early 1990s. Their final studio album,
In Utero,
was released in 1993 and featured a return to the band's punk rock roots. However, the album's darker tone and Kurt's increasingly erratic behavior signaled that all was not well within the band. Kurt Cobain's tragic death in April 1994 was officially ruled a suicide by the Seattle Police Department. However, in the years that followed, a number of conspiracy theories emerged, fueled in part by circumstances surrounding his death and the puzzling figure that is Kurt's wife, Courtney Love. One popular theory suggests that Kurt was actually murdered, possibly by Love or individuals associated with her. Supporters of this theory point to a number of inconsistencies in the official police report, as well as alleged inconsistencies in the evidence collected at the scene of the crime. There's also the fact that Courtney Love stood to benefit off Kurt's death, as she would eventually inherit 98% of the publishing rights to Nirvana after his death, giving her the control to license and collect royalties for the use of the musical composition for media like radio, TV and film, streaming, and all the rest. Now, one of the key pieces of evidence cited by theorists is the infamous suicide note found at the scene of Kurt's death. The note, which was addressed to Kurt's fans and included lyrics from Nirvana's song Come As You Are, has been the subject of much scrutiny over the years. Some have suggested that the note does not read like a traditional suicide note and that it may have been forged or tampered with in some way. Theorists also point to the alleged inconsistencies in Love's behavior in the days and weeks following Kurt's death. Love's erratic behavior, including allegedly offering to pay a private investigator to find dirt on the Seattle police, has been cited as evidence that she may have been involved in a cover-up of other nefarious activities. One particularly interesting and controversial aspect of the conspiracy theories surrounding Kurt's death is the allegation that Love planted a story in the media suggesting that Kurt had overdosed on heroin prior to his death. The story, which appeared in the Seattle newspaper shortly after Kurt's death, was later retracted by the newspaper and was never proven to be true. In addition, despite the official ruling of suicide, some of Kurt's close friends and associates have suggested that they do not believe he would have taken his own life. Love, on the other hand, has reportedly been pushing the suicide narrative since the day Kurt's body was discovered. Some have accused her of trying to control the narrative surrounding Kurt's death and deflecting attention away from any foul play. For example, in the days following Kurt's death, Love gave an interview with Rolling Stone magazine in which she implied that Kurt had been suicidal for some time and that he had attempted suicide several times before. Love's statements were contradicted by some of Kurt's close friends who said that they had never seen any evidence of suicidal behavior in Kurt. Love has consistently denied any involvement in Kurt's death, and the official ruling of suicide remains unchanged. So without further ado, let's dive into the decoding process using the practice of English gematria. By analyzing the code of letters and numbers, along with date numerology, we can uncover intriguing numerical patterns that relate to the narrative at hand. First things first, like the video I put out recently with the Jimi Hendrix decode, we have another Seattle-based artist who died at the infamous age of 27. Note Kurt Cobain died on April 5th, which happens to leave 270 days in the year. Now, as discussed previously, the number 27 is tied to the word ritual, and the word ritual also equals 45 in the reverse reduction cipher, which aligns with the date Kurt died being April 5th, which is written 4/5 like the number 45. Once again, we see a striking similarity between Jimi Hendrix, a Seattle-born rock star who died at the age of 27 and had birth numerology of 27. Now, not only did Kurt have birth numerology of 27 as well, but we also know he tragically passed away at the same age. Now, here you could see Kurt died 44 days from his 27th birthday. Notice surname Cobain holds the value of 44 along with the words kill in Seattle. Now, I understand that Kurt Cobain was born in Aberdeen, but for one, he died in Seattle, and as is often the case with entertainers from smaller towns, they tend to be associated with the largest city in their vicinity. In Kurt's case, he was closely associated with Seattle, where he spent a significant portion of his life and career as a musician. The word kill is relevant here as Kurt Cobain ultimately died from a gunshot wound to the head. While it was officially ruled as a suicide, there have been speculations and theories that suggest the possibility of foul play. However, the truth behind his death remains a mystery to this day. Here we can observe that there are 95 days between Kurt Cobain's death and what would have been Courtney Love's 30th birthday. It is interesting to note that the name Courtney adds up to 95 using English gematria, which is a significant connection to the story we're exploring. Now again, here is an interesting case of where gematria shows its relevance. The band name Nirvana holds the value of 34 and 47 in the reduction ciphers. This matches 2 for 2 with the word suicide. Obviously, we know that Kurt's death was ruled as a suicide, but Kurt himself would often document through a journal his strange obsession with death, which most likely developed due to him feeling disconnected from the world through the highs and lows of his fame. Kurt was even planning on naming the band's third studio album, I Hate Myself and I Want to Die. But before you judge a book by its cover, hear how Kurt himself explained the meaning and his feelings about that title.
At one point you're gonna call it I Hate Myself and I Want to Die.
Just like Rape Me, you know, the title itself confuses people. People would take it too literally. They think we were being serious because no one sees the funny side of us hardly. You know, every picture, you know, if we take a photo shoot, you know, we may smile or make goofy faces 90% of the time, and if we frown for 3 seconds, they'll use those 3-second shots.
As you can see, this clip also alludes to the belief that Kurt was in fact not suicidal despite the narrative, along with what friends and others have already stated. Nirvana's second studio album, Nevermind, was a massive success upon its release on September 24th, 1991, and it's interesting to note that Kurt Cobain's death occurred 924 days after the release of the band's biggest album. This number, 924, has significant value in the English Sumerian cipher, which uses the 26 letters of the alphabet but increases by increments of 6 instead of 1. In this cipher, the phrase ritual sacrifice equals 924. Furthermore, the date of this album's release, 9/24, is written like the number 924. Speaking of Nirvana's biggest album, Nevermind, which again was released on September 24th, a day with 33 date numerology, it's interesting to note that the phrase rockstar equals 33. As mentioned earlier, Kurt Cobain is one of the many artists who tragically passed away at the young age of 27, and what's interesting is that his full name, Kurt Donald Cobain, matches the value of the name 27 Club in 2 out of the 4 base ciphers. Also, for those that might have not seen my video on Jimi Hendrix, the number 27 written out in words equals 46, like the word sacrifice in the full reduction cipher. Now, here I found it interesting that Kurt died in Seattle on a date with prime numerology of 122, which matches the coordinates of the city he represented and died in. You can also see the word satanic equals 122. Now, I'm not necessarily saying Kurt Cobain was a Satanist, however, he did often find interest in the occult, specifically stating he found inspiration in William S. Burroughs' work. William S. Burroughs was an American writer known for his unconventional style and experimental approach to literature. He was associated with Beat Generation and became famous for his novel Naked Lunch, which was considered controversial and obscene by some. In addition to his writing, Burroughs also had an interest in the occult and dabbled in practices such as tarot reading and Ouija board sessions. His interest in the occult can be seen in some of his works, such as Cities of the Red Night, which includes elements of magic and the supernatural. Burroughs was a unique and influential figure in American literature, known for pushing boundaries and challenging societal norms. Here are some pictures of Kurt and William together, and Kurt sitting in William's organ box. For those that don't know what that is, as I didn't either prior to making this video, it's a device invented by an Austrian psychoanalyst, Wilhelm Reich, in the 1930s as a way to accumulate and harness what he called orgone energy, which he believed to be a fundamental life force present in all living things. The orgone box is typically made of alternating layers of organic and inorganic materials and is said to create a concentrated field of orgone energy that can be used for various purposes, including physical and emotional healing. The validity and efficacy of orgone boxes have been widely disputed, and they are not recognized as a legitimate therapeutic device by mainstream medical or scientific communities. Anyway, on the topic of occult and rock music, you can see that the phrase American rock and rock star both hold the value of 666 and the Sumerian ciphers. This, if anything, just gives more reason as to why that genre of music like to dabble in occult symbols and satanic imagery. Obviously, this isn't the sole reason why the genre admires it so much, but it definitely makes sense. And speaking on all these rock artists lately, it reminds me that I put out a video titled Rock's Obsession with the Occult that I highly recommend you guys checking out if you got some time. Back to the subject at hand, Nirvana was signed to DGC Records, owned by David Geffen, who also helped launch the careers of other big bands like Guns N' Roses as well as Soundgarden. But David's biggest cultural impact was likely Nirvana, and notice Kurt died 43 days after David's 51st birthday. As you can see, the surname Geffen equals 43 alongside the word murder. Now, I know it might sound far-fetched to some, but here's a theory, and again, it's just a theory. It could be that Kurt was worth more dead than alive, and considering his mental instability and inability to maintain a healthy lifestyle, the label saw fit to cash out on a potential life insurance policy on their biggest artist if he just so happened to pass away. And in return, the label gets a lump sum payout worth a pretty penny. Not saying this is the exact reason, but it's just a thought. To add on the back of that, when a story of a celebrity death happens, it almost always increases the sales for that artist and potentially any artist that's close to the one that died. In this case, Courtney Love, Kurt's then wife at the time, was looked at very negatively in the eyes of Kurt's fans for her strange behavior and demeanor before and even after Kurt's death. But it goes deeper because Courtney Love was the lead singer of a grunge band by the name Hole, which was also signed to the same label as Nirvana, DGC Records, David's subsidiary label. On this label, the band released their second and notably their most popular album titled Live Through This on April 12th, 1994, just 7 days after the death of Kurt Cobain. Now I find that to be a very eerie title for their major album that just so happened to drop shortly after Kurt's death, literally playing off the fact that Kurt's gone and now Courtney would have to live through this tragic event in her life. Speaking of David Geffen, the owner of DGC Records, he lost one of his biggest acts at the age of 51. It's interesting to note that DGC Records equals 51 in the most pure cipher. Moving on to Nirvana's third and final studio album, In Utero. It was released on September 21st of 1993, and Kurt Cobain died 6 months and 16 days after its release. This is significant because the number 616 is like the phrase ritual sacrifice, which also equals 616. It's quite remarkable that 2 out of the 3 Nirvana albums were released within days that numerically connect with the phrase ritual sacrifice in both the Latin and Sumerian ciphers, 2 ciphers that are significant in the code of English gematria. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up for now, guys. But before I go, I just want to say thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. Whether you've been following me for a while or you just discovered the channel, it really means a lot. But yeah, no matter how this story ended, Nirvana's music and Kurt Cobain's influence will continue to be felt for many years to come. Even today, you still see kids rocking the Nirvana shirts, even if they don't even know the songs. That just goes to show how impactful their music and imagery was and will probably continue to be. But you guys know the drill, man. Be sure to drop your boy a comment. beat the hell out of that like button, share the video, and most importantly, subscribe, man. Remember, all of those things are free to do. It's been your boy Script, and I'm out of here. Peace.